Drop the case, Ian. We'll take it from here.
Volume. Welcome. Huge shout out to Matt Baker for that one. I just couldn't resist, eh? I could not resist our boy Matt Baker coming in hot. Too much fun. Be sure to follow Slave to Liberty for more good, clean fun like that. Total legend. And it's also doesn't hurt that Matt is a great reporter. He's a total legend. You'll get lots of great information on his channel as well as awesome AI edits and all the rest. Thanks for your patience this evening. We had a little bit of technical difficulties getting into the stream. Restream kind of broke on me and had to do some last minute fixes. But it's good to have you all here. Thanks for being here. Welcome to this special episode of Free Speech Friday. This week, I guess it's Fed Slop Friday. This week, on Fed Slop Friday, we're going to discuss all things about the Charlie Kirk case, past and present, honing in on a few specific pieces that are most critical. I think you already have some ideas as to what. Because there's a lot of breaking news. There's a lot of developments right now that are extremely significant. And there's a huge slop storm around me personally because of what has been transpiring between me and Nick Fuentes in the last several days here, last week or so, and how it has brought renewed attention to the 30-06 and to the rifle. Does my audio keep going in and out, chat? Is my audio okay? Chat, if my audio is having big problems right now while I'm talking, you let me know. Drop it in the chat right now. Yeah, it's fine, right? Yeah, cool. By the way, huge shout out to the homies I see in the chat. I see Valhalla VFT in the chat. I saw Zeb Boykin in the chat earlier. I know there's a couple of homies that I'm forgetting and that I missed that I see in the chat, but thanks for being here, guys. Awesome to see the legend in the chat. We're going to be rating Valhalla's channel after this is over and sending everybody over to watch Valhalla VFT. And I hear that he's going to have some hilarious and spicy commentary on some of the things that are relevant to this show here, but that I'm not going to really directly cover here. I'll just leave it at that. So by the end of my show, maybe you'll have an idea of what Nate's going to talk about tonight. And I think it's going to be hilarious. But tonight's a very serious show. We're going to be all serious, only serious, the most serious show. Only the most serious people on the show, as you might have been able to tell from the intro. But we have some breaking news, and I want to just run over everything we're going to cover today up front so you guys kind of know what's going on here and know what to expect, and then we'll kind of get into the thread that sort of ties everything together. So, Tyler Robinson finally appeared in court, and it was televised. And there's a lot we still don't know based upon this one televised appearance, but we know he's a real person, which is great. To be clear, I never believed that he wasn't, but it's good to see him in person and have that fully confirmed. We also know a little bit about the media policy that we will be expecting going forwards, and we might be able to expect to have video of the whole trial, possibly. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the security around the trial and a couple of things that stood out from the trial. There was a secret portion of the trial, and I've got a great video from a guy that was there that summarizes what that was all about. We have Erika Kirk making the rounds and a whole bunch of very heated, complex, controversial discussion about Erika and what that means and what she's saying. And she's kind of say she got caught in a lie. Erika Kirk got caught in a lie already. And it kind of either forced Candace's hand or gave Candace the opportunity today live on the Jimmy Dore podcast to come out and say who she had this information from about Charlie apparently text messaging that they were going to kill him. And Candace has fully pointed the finger at who is responsible for that text message and who we might expect to see it from or never see it from, which is all very interesting. Then we're going to tie together a whole bunch of the Fed Slop conversation on X and look at why it's all happening, what is so important about it happening. We'll just briefly talk to Nick Fuentes, but only the briefest little bit as we skip over into some pretext for this whole conversation. Other shootings where similar things have happened that are now being held up as like, oh my gosh, how would that ever make your theory work when we have plenty of historical context for such things. So I see the chat asking if Candace is on today. My understanding is that Candace is not on today. I actually asked her team specifically if she was going to be on today, and it was earlier in the morning, but at the time they were thinking today was a research day for them. So hence why we're going a little earlier on Free Speech Friday tonight. So at the start, I don't want to keep shitting on Nick. The point of this is not to keep shitting on Nick. But at the start, in order to understand where the conversation is at right now and why X is a total shitstorm right now, we kind of need to start with a little piece of the videos that I made about him over the last week, responding to his ongoing attacks and his ongoing responses and ad hominems and all of that good stuff, because it very much paints the picture, or rather it very much sets the stage for what's happening now and why it's happening right now.
And I saw Ian Carroll came out today on a live stream pleading with me to join in on the conspiracy. If you think that, I feel sorry for you, because you are retarded.
So I'm sure you've seen them by now. I fired back at Nick once, and then I fired back at Nick twice, and I'll just play the little intro here, and that'll set the stage. And the point of this is not to keep poking Nick, honestly, like whatever. The point is to show how this has blown up a really important piece of the conversation, not even about Nick. Apparently, Nick's theory, based on the expert that he cited by name, our French guy, apparently Nick's theory is that the bullet didn't even hit the spine on the way in. It entered Charlie's neck here, passed beyond his spine into the back, and bounced off of his skin, and then did a 180-degree turn, a 30-06 bullet, and was trampolined with so much speed back into Charlie's spine that it, I guess, according to the official narrative that Nick is parroting, then shattered his C2 all the way down to his C7, just obliterated his spine, and then just lodged right beneath the skin down by T1. Nick is being forced to continually respond to this over and over and over and just like make more and more mistakes because his own fans are sending him super chats being like, Nick, this is not a good look, bro. Nick, you should not, don't keep doing this, Nick. You're fucking it up, Nick. I thought that was pretty good intro, honestly.
Nick Fuentes just can't help himself.
But we're going to get into some of the little bit of evidence that I cited here.
Being up a good discussion about what's really going on out here and who's really got information and who's got a whole bunch of logical fallacy, ad hominem, and generally emotional. Like I hesitate to use the word crashing out, but it kind of feels like an animal back limb. We can all watch. I don't have to keep on just handing out gifts. Large substance of your answers. The substance of your argument. Skipping over the part and
about
don't worry,
Nick.
this one's not going to have to be 2 hours long because we already did that. We already beat that horse to death. And because Nick's points are getting more and more hollow and more easily debunked. But they do give us space for a very interesting conversation. And they give us space to address some of the experts that have conveniently flooded the zone right after I brought up a whole bunch of noise about how we literally, the first piece of evidence, the bullet, the gunshot, does not work. The gun that they say was used, the gun that links Tyler Robinson to the scene, the gun that Tyler Robinson's dad did not see a photo of when he said that that was why he knew it was his son that did the murder. That gun is not the gun. The bullet doesn't match, even though they've not shown it to us. They've not shown us the autopsy, but they've leaked enough And they've confirmed enough of their official narrative that we very well know that this is not possible. So we're going to use this opportunity to kind of laugh at Nick Fuentes' whatever you want to call it, and also address some of the other experts that have been coming out to call me names online. Because bringing up the rifle again right now is a critical piece that cannot happen, because the rifle is the only thing tying Tyler to the scene. The only concrete piece of evidence, at least. The rifle is so important to the mainstream narrative, to the Fed case, and to convicting Tyler Robinson of this crime. And if it appeared to be the rifle that took the shot, then I'd be all for it, obviously. If the evidence seemed to align with the crime, then obviously I would be all for trying Tyler based on that evidence and letting the jury decide. The problem is that right from day one, every military expert, every special forces guy, every ballistics expert immediately threw the flag at the wound that we saw, the damage that we saw Charlie sustain, and the rifle that we were told was used. And interestingly, in starting beef with Nick about the rifle, the conversation about the rifle reached a way larger audience. It actually blew up across huge swaths of the internet all over again and became a major flashpoint all of a sudden, right as Tyler Robinson was about to appear in court, right as Erika Kirk was about to start doing these interviews, right at this critical juncture before everyone goes off home for the holidays, where they need everyone to be going home and talking about how that crazy Tyler kid did it. And Candace has gotten so far down the rabbit holes, digging in the garden, as Theo Von puts it, that it's become easy for her critics to smear her based upon what she's investigating now and forget about the fact that this all started because the mainstream case does not add up. The mainstream case does not make sense. And the rifle is one of the most obvious and key pieces, but it is far from the only piece. You can remember when they released the text messages, the alleged text messages, and the whole internet came together, left and right, around how no one was buying that shit. Interestingly, pretty much everyone who's a Zionist has now flipped. And though they may have laughed at those text messages initially, now they feel very confident that those text messages are all good. In fact, there's a strange pattern of Zionism in general in the people that are attacking Candace and attacking me and that are shilling the Fed narrative, with a few glaring exceptions like our boy Nick. But it all adds up to a very strange propaganda campaign. And I don't mean to say or suggest by my words that everyone that disagrees with me is a Fed, or everyone that disagrees with me is part of a propaganda campaign. What I mean is that we're seeing something very similar to what we saw during COVID, where you form a mass psychosis and it sweeps regular people along with it, that go along with the crowd. They go along with the narrative because you get them emotionally riled up. And then they parrot your own talking points for you. They parrot the narrative. They enforce the narrative. And for COVID, they had the leftists dialed in, and it was the right wing that wasn't buying it. But this time, they've got the right wing dialed in, and it's a lot of leftists that aren't buying it, as well as a lot of right wing people. And they achieved that, I suppose. I mean, I'm no psychologist, but the way from what it looks to me, they achieved that by killing our guy, so to speak. And I know Charlie wasn't really my guy, but they achieved it by killing MAGA's guy and getting emotions all riled up around it, and then parading his widow around and, you know, having all of his friends come out and give heartwarming testimony and having all these memorials and stuff. And I don't think personally that most of them are in on it. I don't think that most of Turning Point knows anything about whatever happened. I think most of them are being swept along in whatever wave is hitting everybody also.
I want to believe that that's what's happening with Erika too. But there's a lot of people in that TPUSA right-wingy camp that are lying, that are being caught lying on camera. And there's even more people that are misrepresenting Charlie Kirk. Things that he did say, things that he did text, things that he did tweet, as well as things that are just a little more subtle and subversive. So it felt appropriate, and it seems like it always feels appropriate, to start with this classic clip of Charlie, just to remind us all where we're starting out here.
Because I learned during COVID. I learned when they told us that it came from a bat in the Himalayas. I learned when they told us the vaccine was safe and effective. I learned when they told us that ivermectin was horse paste, that you better keep asking questions because it's the only thing that keeps us free. Thank you so much.
Because it's the only thing that keeps us free. And I suspect that that perspective is only going to become more and more apparently prophetic as we move closer and closer to resolution in this murder investigation and in the subsequent unfolding of events that will come as a result of how this goes. And so this week, Erika Kirk came out and did a total of 6 different media hits by my count. It's possible I missed one, but I believe at least 6 mainstream media hits, mostly all on Fox News. And I think a lot of people are having trouble squaring her emotions and her requests and her demands and her sort of her output with her choices to do so much media. Her choice in the first place to accept the role as CEO. Her choice to publish an Instagram video of her kissing Charlie's dead hand just days after the shooting. Excuse me. There's a lot of inconsistencies here, and some people are feeling emotionally off about it. Some people are feeling downright suspicious and conspiratorial about it. Some people are like fully wrapped their whole house in tinfoil at this point, and they're about to turn the microwave on. And I get it. I totally get it. I am made uncomfortable by the apparent lies that are coming up in this testimony as well, and we're going to look at a few of them. This is the most important one.
Do you think Charlie knew to some degree and had made the conscious choice that I may be taken out early? Not saying he knew that day, but that he had any inkling that this might come his way and that he intentionally chose to move forward with faith in God?
It's interesting because I have unbelievable amounts of death threats. My kids have kidnapping threats, death threats. Our whole team has death threats. We knew that there was always going to be a threat, but Charlie and I we promised each other we would never live in fear. And he would say, if they're going to get me, they're going to get me. But he was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered. They're coming after me. Someone's going to kill me. He didn't say that. And I have his cell phone. Didn't say that. And so what I do know is that we believe in the power of prayer. And what I do know is that we believe in our sovereign God. And what I do know is that that night before, we did what we usually did before tours. We said our prayer. And we asked the Lord to protect us. And we asked the Lord that his will be done.
Listen, I'm not trying to make a huge deal out of this point, but for me, I have had trouble squaring when are we going to get tissue Erika and when are we going to get these other Erikas. And there feels like there's just a really distinct line between the two. And it felt like tissue Erika just went on and on and on and on and on. And every day at every media appearance, it was a full-on tissue Erika
constantly crying in every interview, which is understandable. If that's how you grieve, that's how you grieve. But it feels like it was a hard cutoff, as though something changed, as though something happened. And we went from constantly tearful Erika, which is totally within her rights, not trying to shame her for that, to a very much more like warrior, righteous indignation, anger Erika all at once. And I don't know what caused that shift. I think a lot of people are speculating about what might have caused that shift, but it feels like a very distinct departure from tissue Erika all of a sudden. And we no longer have tissue Erika. And that's not like some huge breaking detail in the case. It's just these little personal, these like little things you notice about people that kind of make you feel comfortable or uncomfortable trusting them and what they're saying. And as the widow of the deceased and the new CEO of the company, she's in a very difficult position, regardless of how suspicious you want to be of her. But that doesn't excuse the fact that she is in that position, and therefore she is the one that requires people's judgment. She is the arbiter of TPUSA's narrative, truth, and final word. And it was her choice to be there. And it was TPUSA's choice to put her there. And if you want to be conspiratorial about it, that's a pretty good shield to put out in front of yourselves. It's the widow of the deceased, whether she knows anything about the crime or not. And I don't have any evidence that she does. But I do have evidence, suddenly the whole world has evidence, that the statement she just made for Glenn Beck here, woof, that is a hell of a screen to come back to. That was not intentional.
Threats. We knew that there was always going to be a threat, but Charlie and I we promised each other we would never live in fear. And he would say, if they're going to get me, they're going to get me. But he was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered. They're coming after me. Someone's going to kill me.
He was not messaging people the day before, they're coming, I'm going to be murdered. They're coming after me. Someone's going to kill me. So she made a number of blanket kind of statements that were like, he wasn't messaging anything like these three statements is what she appeared to have just said. I don't know if we need to belabor the point of reminding us all of the type of Instagram really personal, emotional post that she put out right after he was killed that I don't think anyone enjoyed or had. I don't think anyone fucked with this post. I feel like this post was deeply inappropriate and deeply emotionally manipulative feeling. And it does not help the narrative that she is being put out in front as a grieving widow on purpose. It very much fed that narrative. So there's this critical question, and we're going to come back to the evidence of what is actually going around right now. But there's this critical question of where was Charlie Kirk really standing? What did he really feel? What was his opinion on Zionism and Israel at the end of his life? Because when Candace first broached the subject that this was a shifting topic for him, the whole apparatus came out to call her a liar, to call her crazy, to call her all of the names. Bibi Netanyahu himself, all the way down to his lowest peasant foot soldiers, like Josh Hammer, they all tried to Israel wash Charlie's memory. Erika should have known that all of that was lies. Unless Charlie was keeping that a secret from her. Unless Charlie was keeping this a secret from her. Because Candace produced these text messages, which apparently Andrew Colvett had also had. And we all know the text messages by now. But I don't think you just throw around unseriously to a group text with a bunch of Jewish donors in it. You don't just throw out that I have no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Like, that's not a joke. Cernovich was positing a theory today on X that this was him gaming it so that he would get other donors to donate so that he could play them off each other. And it's like, maybe, But if we are, as we believe, as we've been told, if we are to understand that he had been telling people behind the scenes that he was afraid that Israel would kill him if he turned on them, then that is not the kind of text that you would send lightly or to play donors off of each other or to, get a leg up. Not one bit. And just today, Candace weighed in more because Erika called her a liar. And so Candace came clean on Jimmy Dore's show just earlier today.
Since they were all trying to say that it wasn't true that Charlie had turned on the Greater Israel Project. And you said that you had text messages. They said it was a lie. And then you, of course, revealed them. Here's the Jewish donors play into all the worst stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And so when you produce, that's funny, they tell you you're lying, and then you produce them, and then they go, well, why would you release private
text messages?
So you can't, they create this scenario where you can't win, no matter if you prove them to be liars. You shouldn't have done it. It was inappropriate. And if you don't prove them to be liars, then you're the one who's lying. And so I can't get over again that they think this is going to work. And so I just wanted to bring this up. Erika Kirk. Now there's a new one where you have relayed information that Charlie Kirk told people the day before he was killed that he said they're going to kill me. And so Erika was asked about this by Glenn Beck. I miss how he used to cry all the time. I don't know why he doesn't do that anymore. I miss it. But he was my favorite crier. But here we go. Here's what she had to say about it.
I have unbelievable amounts of death threats. My kids have kidnapping threats, death threats. Our whole team has death threats. We knew that there was always going to be a threat, but Charlie and I.
So I just want to stop it for a second. This isn't the point of this video, but she kind of makes it sound like this is new. She's admitting right there, this is not new. This has been always. This has been. So people, it sounds like they're trying to make it out like you are creating these death threats other people have. Yeah. And it's just, she's there admitting that we always knew, she said, and they all.
Real quick, can we just admire Candace's CIA fit? With her hair back, she looks like she's legitimately like a CIA day one recruit. I think it's hilarious.
Always were receiving death threats. So it's not, I don't know why they.
I was frantically hunting for this clip today because I saw just her clip. I didn't see the Jimmy piece of it at first. And I was like looking everywhere for where is she put out a live stream wearing this outfit where she says this. This must be a brand new live stream that I can't find. And then I finally realized, I figured out that it was Jimmy Dore.
Bring it up because it's not new. But anyway, here we go.
We promised each other we would never live in fear. And he would say, if they're going to get me, they're going to get me. But he was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered. They're coming after me. Someone's going to kill me. He didn't say that. And I have his cell phone.
Okay. Well, the problem is we have Frank Turek saying that he did say that. So here, let me play that.
And so I texted him. I said, Charlie, I hope you've increased your security detail. And he said, I have. I know they want me dead.
I know they want me dead is very much a statement within the scope of the three different types of statements that Erika gave, saying that he wasn't sending out this type of message, this type of message, this type of message. I know they want me dead is very much within the scope of those three things, but
no.
So, what? Just go. What? Go ahead. Take it where you would like on that, because here again. We have these people calling you a liar, and yet we have Frank Turek saying exactly, and then so they keep contradicting each other unwittingly, and that it indicates that someone's lying. And as you always point out, the only reason you would lie is to cover something up. So take it where you want.
Well, here's what I'm just gonna tell the truth. Okay. I did not see that she had said that when I did my show yesterday, and then I saw it after, and I can tell you 1000% that
I kind of think that was Candace thinking right there. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I kind of think she was just thinking this through of well, sorry, Andrew, but we're kind of past this point at this point.
That Andrew Colvett told me the night before Charlie was murdered, that Charlie Kirk texted him and said, they are going to kill me.
And you damn straight, it's about time this came out. It's about time this came out. And the big question is, why the hell hasn't Andrew Colvett told anyone this yet? Aside from in private, off the record, please don't tell anyone. Really?
Andrew Colvett is the person who received a text message from Charlie Kirk saying they're going to kill me. And I'm not getting that third party. I got that directly from Andrew Colvett. He asked me to keep it off record, and I would have kept it off record if Erika did not imply that I lied, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying she is saying Candace is lying. I am saying that since I was the one who put it out there, she's implying that I'm lying and that that's not true. So we have a scenario here where either Andrew Colvett has told an explicit lie or Erika Kirk is telling an explicit lie. It's not up for me to determine who. I didn't receive that text message. But yeah, and I also was told by a person at Turning Point USA, who I'm not going to name because they are one of my sources, that Dan Flood received the same message. So
that's Dan Flood, head of security. First man to touch Charlie after the bullet impact.
There you go. I don't know. I believe that she has his phone. I maybe somebody deleted it, but I don't know why Andrew Colvett, 48 hours after Charlie was dead, would lie to me. He did not sound like he was lying. He sounded very concerned about it. And I specifically said, like, who is they? Like, you know, like he said, they're going to kill me. And he said, I don't know who was.
Because think back to 48 hours after the shooting. It was before Candace had offered any opinions. It was somewhat before the Israel narrative had taken hold, but it was there at that point already. But Andrew Colvett, if you remember, contacted Candace saying, you and Tucker need to lay low. There's a threat against you. And in the same conversation, more or less, apparently, he said that Charlie had apparently texted him saying, I'm afraid they're going to kill me. And he didn't say Israel. He didn't say the Jews. He said, they're going to kill me. And that seems to be paired with the same conversation of like, they're going to come get you too. Spooky, spooky. You should probably stay off the air. And so I don't know what Andrew Colvett's motivations would be there. I don't know if he's sinister or if he's just misguided and very scared and not sharing information that the whole public wants and deserves to know at this point. But that's damning. If Colvett has that information, and let's be clear, let me be ultra clear. I believe Candace Owens on this one 100%, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Having seen the inside of her operation, having seen how her show operates and how her team works, and just how honest of a person she is in general, like how normal of like a interaction you have with her and her team and everybody when you're there, I don't doubt it one bit that she's telling the truth on who told her this. So we'll see if Andrew Colvett addresses this or not. We'll see what Erika Kirk does, because that is, I mean, Frank Turek already kind of spilled the beans all over the world, and that's a historic clip. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of Andrew Colvett. I'm not going to, blast him as though he's necessarily involved, but it's not a great look to be keeping that kind of a text message secret, especially when you can tell that the FBI has already made up its mind and has no interest in pursuing any foreign leads or anything of that nature. So I'm very excited to watch this piece of the story play out a little more. And I'm a little nervous because things are about to get very hairy. This is, we've already seen this one because this is Turek. Oh, this is a last minute addition to the pile here. But I thought you guys might find it a little spicy to share this. This is sort of some Instagram drama where apparently Andrew Colvett deleted his Instagram account cold in the middle of the night about 2 weeks ago when some questions came up.
entire Instagram account. No, because something is off here, and I'm not going to pretend it's not. Last night, I tagged Andrew Colvett in the comments of one of my videos, literally just tagging him in this comment saying he should sit down with Candace Owens and have a chat. Nothing dramatic, right? And around 5 o'clock this morning, I woke up and had a notification that Andrew Colvett had responded to my comment telling me to private message him. But when I clicked it, it was gone, like wiped, deleted. The comment was gone, the page was gone, like I had hallucinated the whole thing. So I go digging, and tell me why the account I had just tagged hours earlier was completely deleted. As in, Instagram said that the page does not exist. But wait, because it gets even weirder. There's suddenly a brand new Andrew Colvett account. Brand new. One post, one follower, joined November 2025. Nothing else on it. No comments, no history, no trace of anything that existed yesterday. So let's lay out our timeline. Sometime between 10 p.m. to maybe even 1 a.m., I commented and tagged Andrew Colvett. He replies to me sometime between 1 a.m.
So this all happened, I believe, November 22nd, end of last month. And we're going to go briefly look at the video that is where these comments occurred. The top commenter says, was it after Charlie's assassination? Did Andrew threaten them, or was he privy to information inside Turning Point? This needs to be unpacked. 1. Yep, he called her from the hospital after Charlie was shot. That's unclear to everyone. I think it would be awesome if Andrew Colvett would just sit down with real Candace Owens and talk it out so we could skip all the he said, she said.
And 5 a.m. and then his entire page disappears immediately after. A brand new scrubbed clean page magically appears, and I'm just supposed to believe that that's normal. No, sorry, I'm not buying it. And to add to the weirdness, Candace has confirmed that there is a hit out on her, bought and paid for by the Macrons. So Andrew Colvett, is this the threat that you were telling her about? And if so, why didn't you elaborate? People don't delete their whole identity online at 5 in the morning by accident, not right after responding to a comment about a phone call connected to an assassination of their boss. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just saying the timing is very convenient and very suspicious. You don't wipe your whole footprint unless you don't want people seeing something. So stay tuned, because now I'm really paying attention.
Yep. So I went to her account and scrolled back to find what was the video where this comment was posted. And this is it.
Quietly reveals something massive. On Monday, Candace spent most of her show talking about the Egyptian airplanes, but she also dropped something absolutely huge, and it seems like almost nobody caught it. She said for months that on the day Charlie Kirk was shot, someone from Turning Point called her and warned her that she and Tucker Carlson were on a list and needed to lay low because there was a credible threat against their lives. And here's the part that's always bothered me and everyone else. If there was a credible threat, why did no one from the government, not the FBI, not Homeland Security, why didn't they contact Candace or Tucker? Not a single official warning. But on Monday, she finally named the person who made that call, and it wasn't just a random employee, it wasn't security, it wasn't law enforcement. It was Andrew Colvett, the top spokesperson for Turning Point USA.
Right, so Andrew Colvett is the one that called Candace, warning her and Tucker to lay low. And he's the one that said that, maybe paired with that same warning, that Charlie had texted him the night before his death saying, I'm afraid they're going to kill me. And it seems like those two messages could go hand in hand to try to make Candace more afraid. But it's unclear what the motivation would be here. But when this woman started asking questions about it back on November 22nd, I believe, suddenly in the middle of the night at like 5 a.m. or something, I guess early in the morning, Andrew Colvett wiped his entire Instagram profile.
Someone extremely close to Charlie Kirk. He's the one who told her she's on the list. He's the one who told her to lay low, and he's the one who called it a credible threat. So now I'm asking the question no one seems to want to say out loud. Was there ever an actual outside threat, or was that call from Colvett himself the actual threat?
So this is the video from before Colvett deleted his Instagram account. And then the video we watched first was after he deleted his Instagram account. And I don't know what that means, but it's interesting that Colvett is allegedly sitting on this tweet. And the last time that Candace had a tweet that Colvett was also sitting on, it was very real. So I'm inclined to believe that that text message, sorry, I keep saying tweet for text message. I'm inclined to believe that those text messages are real.
listen. We don't need to dive super deep into this. Charlie was very Jewish. He was a very Jewish Christian. And yes, he was known to sign off of his show with Shabbat Shalom sometimes. He very much did love the Sabbath, the Jewish Sabbath, and he very much did talk about these sorts of things. It was pretty awkward. And a lot of us kind of poked and talked shit at him during his life for it. That being said, the book tour, the book about it, we're just going to trust that it's his exact words, and the way it's being marketed by his widow is weird, and it's rubbing a lot of people in weird ways, and it's weird. And our boy Diligent brought up a really great point.
He would walk through the door, drop his bags, Daddy's home, take his phone, Friday night, Shabbat Shalom, throw it in the junk drawer, and it was just all us. And
you know that someone is going to make a fire rap edit out of that clip. If you haven't done it already, get on it, guys. What are you waiting for? But Diligent just noticed that like she's portraying it as though like he always did this. He observed the Jewish Sabbath every Saturday, kind of like it's getting presented as though like he really did do this. And he just asked Grok like, hey, did Charlie ever tweet on Saturdays? And the answer is obviously yes. Yeah. Apparently, this is weird. Apparently, Grok found 0 instances of Charlie using the word Shabbat, but we know that he did use the word Shabbat Shalom sometimes, kind of like in half jest, friendly jest sort of. Not like he was making fun of it. And he replied on Sabbath all the time, lots of times. Grok was like, there's too many to count. And for a sample of 120 recent replies over the past 3 years, I found 16 instances during Shabbat or Sabbath, provided a bunch of examples. So the book marketing is a little weird and it's a little intense. And notice that we have crying Erika back for this interview specifically. So I'm trying to just understand how do we summon crying Erika versus like serious eyes Erika. I don't want to use insulting words for this Erika. What's the difference between crying Erika and this Erika? I guess is the question. Because let's be real, wide spectrum of emotions makes perfect sense. But the question is, just from like a outside perspective, is she convincing the public? Or is the public feeling underwhelmed by the whole thing? And this clip is pretty fucking weird.
Again, I read the whole thing, and
but talking about Charlie's book.
Read the last few pages. I'm not there yet. It's just emotionally because once this book is done, it's done.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody thinks we should all mourn a certain way.
Right.
Okay, well, until you walk a mile.
So when you start saying everybody mourns a certain way, I don't know what about the conversation goes here, but when you watch it over and over, it very much has the vibe of like trying to give someone the eyes of like, let's not talk about this, like, right? And I'm not trying to say that like, oh look, she murdered her husband. That is not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is it's just like, it makes it all feel like controlled media. It all feels scripted. It all feels kind of weird. It doesn't feel super genuine to me. And I think that's how a lot of people feel. Fortunately, I've never had to go through anything like this.
In someone else's shoes,
look at that. Look at that.
Well, until you walk a mile in someone else's shoes, until you walk a mile in someone else's shoes, don't lecture people.
100%.
Right? I'm sure you've all looked into her past. We're not going to get all up into Erika Kirk's past right now. Yes, it's very suspicious. Yeah, there's a lot in her past. I will say that I have been trying to source the claim that's been going around that her dad founded Raytheon Israel, and I can't find anything to back that up, guys. Honestly, I think that that's just a Twitter rumor that gained steam and just floated. Raytheon doesn't exactly have like an Israel branch, so to speak, and neither of her parents ever officially worked at Raytheon, as far as I can tell. They did have contracting with, like, some amount of contracting with Raytheon through the company, the defense contractor that they were at. I'm still looking into it. They were certainly involved in intelligence operations, defense contracting kind of stuff. They certainly have the pedigree of intel operatives. Probably going to be impossible to ever confirm just how much depth there is to that. But there is an interesting slip of the tongue, sort of. It's not even a slip of the tongue. It's like 13 years ago. But it's interesting.
Erika's here. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. To me, they're one of the main reasons why I have the freedom of being Miss Arizona USA, and it's an honor to represent my state at its 100th birthday, but I'm making sure that I'm doing things in the community, getting out and helping people. I'm really active actually with my nonprofit called Everyday Heroes Like You. We're entering our 5th year, so I started it when I was 17, so I've been able to travel to the Pentagon, I've been able to meet General Salazar, who's actually out here in Arizona, and I've also been able to donate a Johnny's Locker to the Sojourner Center, which you're looking at right now.
Wow.
So there's been a lot of things that have been going on, from working in the military to traveling.
So she said working in the military. And let's be real, it doesn't necessarily mean that she was in the military. It could just be a colloquial thing of like I'm going around doing my pageant thing, and it's really great to work with the military, you know? Right? But I just thought it was a good clip to play to remind us all that Erika has a background. And to be fair, that background, it's an extremely impressive resume, if you think about it, for whatever position. That's the only reason why it's even the slightest bit believable that she should be CEO of Turning Point USA. Because the conversation did blow up of Candace kind of brought it up, of being Charlie's wife is not enough credentials to be the CEO of TPUSA. And Erika does have an impressive background with a great resume for running a big organization like that. But the question is as Charlie's wife steps in, is the public going to be convinced of her genuineness and of her ethic and her moral direction carrying on in Charlie's legacy? And I think the big question on a lot of our minds, the big litmus test, is this the last time that Tucker Carlson will ever be on the TPUSA stage at this AmFest? And are we going to go straight back into the Zionist shilling, Israel, 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 which is what it looks like we're doing, despite one of Charlie Kirk's final text messages being, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause? And it's a little awkward that he would be sending that text message and sharing his whole life with Erika, presumably telling her everything. Presumably she's seeing the pressure that these donors are putting on him. Presumably she loves him more than anything. And if she loves him more than anything, then she should hate the people that are pressuring him, the people that are making his life hell, the people that he's maybe afraid of, and the people that he eventually text messages and says, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. She knows who that text message was about. And for her to take over his company and apparently do a U-turn back into Zion land, I think is leaving a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. So, let's transition into the current Fed Slop. And what better place to start than with our independent newsman, Jack Posobiec. He has a very important message for you, America.
Tyler Robinson, to me, seems to be the one who did this. And it's very clear. It's very clear that Tyler...
Listen up, potential jurors. It's very clear and important that you clearly get this message, potential jurors.
Robinson is the killer because, again, His parents were the ones that turned him in. It's really as simple as that. You don't have to go any further. You don't have to listen to the FBI. You don't have to listen to government. You know, say, hey, just listen to his parents. Just go listen to his parents. His parents are the ones who turned him in. That's why I keep saying it over and over.
You know how, like, in psychological operations, they teach you to repeat things, to simplify things, to get rhythmic with things, to tell people over and over and over to trust the fucking science?
Over and over, because none of the other theories make any sense beyond that point. His parents turned him in.
His parents turned him in. His parents turned him in. His parents turned him in. Don't dare read the charging documents where none of it makes fucking sense. We'll get to that. Don't worry, Jack.
If your parents believed you did something, they would turn you in if they're good people. Now, if they were bad people, they wouldn't turn you in. So just think it through logically.
Logically, I'm glad you're not my fucking dad, you prick. What? Anyways, just want to remind you that just the other week, Jack Posobiec got caught blatantly taking Tyler Robinson's brother's posts, blurring his face on all the photos, and then presenting them as though it was Tyler Robinson. Openly lying, knowingly lying, just to contaminate the potential jurors even more. But don't you dare do that, or you're bad. You're evil.
And I would just also like to point out how easy it would be for them to give us anything believable. How would? Help me out, guys. Again, I'm not a legal expert. Glenn Beck understands this stuff.
I'm actually getting ahead of myself there. I want this piece here and this piece here and maybe even that one. But so Jack Posobiec wants you to just listen to his parents turned him in. Listen to the Fed slop. Listen to the obvious lies that he's shilling. And this is where we get to the gun. And to his parents turning him in, apparently. I have no fucking clue what is up with this part of the story. I do not know what's up with this part of the story. I don't even have a good theory for how this all adds up. Because there is a blatant falsehood in the charging documents. So not the affidavit of probable cause, but the charging documents, which is a 10-page document. And on page 7, let me line it up here for you. I wonder if I can put these away. Yeah. So, on page 7, it says, Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. We can argue about how clear those photos were, but that's not my point. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. This is the only photo of the rifle that has ever been released. And this is not the rifle. And you actually know that just from this photo. You would know that before the New York Post confirmed that this was just a stock photo that they put in place because they didn't have a real photo of the rifle. Because this rifle obviously has a composite stock made out of some sort of like plastic polymer. It's obviously not a World War I era relic. Duh. And the optic is on kind of weird, and people had a bunch of questions about that, and Lord knows why it's like that. It was just a random photo of a random Mauser. Like the one that Tyler allegedly used. Like the one that was a hand-me-down, a
family heirloom to perfectly connect this exact person to the scene of the crime, which in Patsy land is a really freaking good thing to have, as long as it matches the shot. And listen, are we going to come back to it later? Yeah, we'll come back to it a little later. But Jack wants you to know about how his parents turned him in. And I have a lot of questions about how his parents turned him in, how they even knew that he was the shooter. And I genuinely don't know, because they're in the courtroom with Tyler when Tyler's going into the courtroom. And the court trial is going to start in January, and we're going to see what happens. And I have no idea how it's going to play out. But now let's take a quick detour to the courtroom to talk about, apparently, the fact that we're going to get to watch it televised, I believe. Hopefully. So here's the judge.
First, that the transmission cannot begin until court is in session and must end as the court ends the session, and cannot be filmed before or after. The filming of, as previously stated in the decorum order, EMC must be followed to the letter. The sanction for today is that this camera will be relocated away from the defense table to where the bailiff is, where Jeff is standing over here.
So they had all gotten into court, spent like 2 or 3 minutes in court, and then the judge had been like, okay, now everybody leave the court. We're going to have a secret hearing in here for a little bit. We'll invite you back in later. Everybody left the court for like 2 hours plus. Then they all came back in, and we'll get to what that was all about in a second. Then they all came back in, and then immediately there was a motion brought by, I believe, Tyler's team, the defense, saying, objection, Your Honor, these cameras, they're right up in my boy's business. They're filming our camera screen, or our computer screens. They're filming Tyler's shackles. That was agreed wouldn't happen. They're actually overhearing our private conversations. It's a big issue. And the judge was like, fair, that's a big issue. I told them not to do that. We're going to relocate the camera, and no more funny business. You got to follow the rules or I'll kick the cameras out. But he ruled that he won't kick the cameras out.
I want to immediately address any possible transmission of shackles, as previously stated by counsel.
I don't know why the shackles are such a big deal.
Remove the possibility of capture of screens of the computers at defense counsel's table as well. In addition, if there's further violations of the standing decorum order, this court does have the right and will exercise termination of broadcast of these proceedings. And I simply want to put all parties on notice, to the press, to all parties, that this court takes this very seriously. While the court believes in openness and transparency, it needs to be balanced with the constitutional rights of all parties in this case. As such, we will take a brief recess to allow the relocation of the camera and to the place indicated by the bailiff, and then we will resume these court proceedings. I'm anticipating this take perhaps 5 minutes. All right, and then we'll come back on the record and handle the remaining of this hearing. I appreciate the patience of parties as we move forward.
I believe that he says somewhere else, he implies somewhere else that it will continue, but it's being misconstrued. In there, his words sort of say the filming will be allowed to continue for this hearing. He's talking about this particular day's hearing. He's not yet ruled on whether the cameras will be allowed in back in in January and going forwards, but we would assume that that is the case, because my understanding, which is limited, is that Utah has an open courtroom policy. It's an open state where generally these things are filmed, and the courtrooms are open. And we're going to check in with more of an expert opinion here in a second to get a little summary of what happened, because he was there at the courtroom today.
Get into that a little.
And he then consults a legal expert at the end of this that we're going to skip ahead to. Really quickly, let me peep my timestamps here. 1:35. Oh, boom, right there.
And you don't get to listen. You're like,
look. So this is Brian Enton. Shout out to Brian Enton. Seems like a great journalist. I've never seen his work before, but I'm going to be following him now. If you want updates on the Tyler Robinson court cases, I suggest that you follow him too, because he's clearly there on the scene, and I think he intends to be there on the scene for the entire case.
Wait, why and what's going on? So some theories on what that may have been about involving Tyler Robinson. I'm going to get into that in a little bit, but let me just kind of walk you through the day. This was the first time that we have seen Tyler Robinson in person, the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk. I've covered the other hearings, and the other times they were virtual. He was in a suicide vest, you remember, and it was like on this grainy video, like almost like Zoom video from the jail. So today was the first time that we were actually able to see him for ourselves. And he was brought here from the jail to the courthouse in downtown Provo. Security, I've covered a ton of high profile cases. I have never.
This is the part that we're going to stick here for, is the security is interesting. Because we don't want this kid to get Lee Harvey Oswalded. Okay?
Never seen security like what I saw here surrounding Tyler Robinson. And I had interviewed the sheriff and undersheriff, I think it's been like a month or two ago, and they told me like, we're not taking any chances. And man, they did not take any chances. I mean, they had snipers up on the roof, which I got a couple of photos of, all on different sides of the courthouse. When they closed down the roads around the courthouse, when Tyler Robinson arrived, he was in this like convoy of police vehicles, including a Humvee.
It looks like they're ready to fend off a Mossad hit squad, honestly. Like, just making a joke, but it looks like they're ready to fend off like a Mossad hit squad. They're not like it's not to protect him from like some lone vigilante right winger. It's not why you give him that level of security. So it's good to see, assuming that the call doesn't come from inside the house.
That, you know, you could see coming from a mile away. There were drones in the air. There was a plane in the air that was circling the courthouse. And they brought him in through an underground entrance that they had blocked off with like black tarp so that you couldn't even see that area. And so that's how he got to the courthouse. I went upstairs to...
Okay, so very secure courthouse, apparently. Yeah, the chat has some funny opinions about the security. We're going to jump ahead to where he consults a legal expert about a couple of the aspects of this, and in particular, the closed section of the hearing.
Heavy on them. So I'm joined now by Clayton Sims, a defense attorney here in Utah. First of all, Clayton, I wanted to ask you, it was kind of surprising. They brought us into the courtroom, and then we were there for 2 minutes, and then they said all the media and the public has to leave. We're going to have this closed hearing right off the bat that has to do with some kind of transcript from October. They didn't give any details. And then that went on. We were all in the hallway for 2 hours. It was a long time. What do you think that was?
Yes, we don't know, but we can speculate that it has something to do with his first appearance where he was in a suicide vest. So it's likely based upon his appearance that they were discussing some type of jail security issues. It's obviously he's a high risk inmate, and they may not want to talk about things publicly. His psychological sort of background, was he suicidal? Is he still suicidal? And what security measures they have at the jail? How are
So what they're saying is that there was a transcript from October that had been sealed, and they needed to do some discussion in the courtroom during this hearing about that transcript and whether or not to unseal it. And they're talking about how it would be logical to assume that the transcript that's sealed is discussion of his security within the jail, and maybe they don't want to give away secrets about how the security within the jail works, and possibly Tyler Robinson's mental state, if he had been suicidal at one time, is maybe they would prejudice the jury or the court to unseal that transcript in talking about his previous mental state or something like that, is sort of the way that this expert sort of frames it. And it makes a lot of sense. And it's not very significant. It doesn't really matter for us going forwards, I don't believe.
additional security and security where he was the only inmate transport? Teagues looks like SWAT in the back. And so in under the order is difficult from the beginning, and shackles.
So this is where we get to the
attorney to their client.
Tyler Robinson smiling with his attorney.
Now,
or not.
smirk, to documents, items, that, and not all of them have been turned over. Only 10,000, or no, only 7,000 of those items have been turned over. So there's a lot of information. In fact, the prosecution talked about a full-time paralegal whose responsibility is gathering up the discovery, gathering up video, gathering up police reports, gathering up evidence, and then turning that over to the defense side. So there's a lot of material there, and there's a lot of material that hasn't been disclosed yet. The defense attorney said, hey, we're waiting on things. If you're asking for the death penalty, if you're stating publicly that we want to put this person to death, and at the same time you're saying, yes, but we haven't given you all the materials.
Right.
Those two things don't work. They're mutually exclusive. They're inconsistent. If you're going to seek the death penalty, you need to honor your discovery obligations and provide everything that you have.
So there's a lot still to come out.
There's a lot that we are theoretically still going to learn. And it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a shit show on all sides. There's going to be narrative control from at least one side. And we're going to do our best to cover it as it goes. We are just getting warmed up here. And already the internet is a Fed slop cesspool. But before we get back to the cesspool and some of the more fun and funny parts of our show tonight, I'd be remiss not to throw in a brief spot for our new buyer app that just came out. You may have heard. We're only going to talk about it for 1 second here. But man, I'm freaking proud of the buyer app. Over the weekend, I turned my whole set into a little grocery store, and we scanned a whole bunch of products and showed how the buyer app works. On launch day, we hit number 1 in health and fitness on the App Store. Freaking stoked. And it is available on iOS and Google Play now, so go ahead and download it. It'll help you uncover and unravel who actually owns all the products in the grocery store, who's really selling you your Frescas and your Waterloos and cat food, dog food, tampons, shampoo, anything with a barcode in the grocery store. Buyer will help you figure out who really owns it and help you just make more informed purchasing decisions. Free version will tell you everything you need to know, and there is a $5 upgrade if you want all of the features to get the full information and support the project. But the whole point of it is to help you vote with your dollar. Because as I've elucidated many times, as my whole platform was really built on, the corporate control that the corporate club exerts upon our nation and upon the world is largely because we're all ignorant to how they do it. And if you start taking more of your money to family and founder-owned businesses, you start taking that corporate control away from them. You start taking those dollars away from them. You start taking their bottom line away from them, and you force them to change in the process. So, very proud of Buyer. Go hit it up on the App Store. If you like it, drop a solid review for us. Really appreciate it. And now, let's get back to the Fed slop. Let's get back to Fedomania. With a brief clip from Candace Owens today. Great screenshot.
But who am I? I'm so sorry, Glenn. I don't explain it to us. But I don't understand how if they just released a video of him taking the shot, because there's video of that, how would that ruin their case? How would that not support their case, actually? And also support their case with the public? Like, that would be the first thing I would do, rather than try to deploy this propaganda effort. You could just present something solid, like some.
Right? I presume that they have the video of Tyler Robinson allegedly taking this shot. And I know that because I visited the campus, as I'm sure you guys mostly know. And I went and looked with my own 2 eyes at this security camera that is positioned right here on the corner of this building that is pointing squarely at the roof from which the shot was taken, right over there. Camera here, roof position there. And this is the camera which published the video of the suspect running across the roof, which they suspiciously cut right after the shot was taken instead of showing the shot being taken. And I think a lot of us, including a lot of the most expert military men, special operators, right when they saw the shot, before we even knew where it had officially been taken from, a lot of them did not think that this was the kind of location that actually lined up with the wound that we saw. Rob O'Neill, who famously killed Osama bin Laden, he initially came out, and I think still to this day came out and said that looked like an exit wound to him, not an entrance wound. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know which one it is, but a number of ballistic experts and special forces people seem to agree with him. Other people seem to assert that if the wound had been caused from a shot at this angle, that the actual angle and pitch wouldn't have had it hit his spine based on where it appeared on his neck. And all of that is secondary, in my opinion, to the fact that a 30-06 has way too much power to cause the wound that we saw live, recorded on camera. And now the internet has blown up because, not exclusively because of me, but as I started prodding Nick Fuentes Groyper King Nick Fuentes about his apparent parroting of the Fed Slop narrative here. That blew up into a huge conversation, both around the bullet and the shot and the rifle, as well as around Nick Fuentes and what the fuck is going on with him. And it's been a great time. Nick, please keep talking shit. It's great content. It's a ton of fun to make. I welcome your insults and slop. But then Candace started picking it back up, and other people around the internet started talking about it more, and we got a tidal wave of accounts coming out of the woodwork to dispel this narrative and to basically just die on the hill of it's not that crazy to believe that a 30-06 is lodged in his neck, that it hit him in the neck and then turned at nearly 90 degrees and went downwards into his body. That's very normal. Very normal. And one of the most interesting accounts to do it is this Phoenix Ammunition guy. And we're not going to belabor the point, but he's just tweeting like it's his full-time job all of a sudden and just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and continuously tweeting at people, presenting a lot of complexity and a lot of, I make bullets. And I showed in my video last time how his LinkedIn shows that his resume is not the kind of resume that the special operators have, that the Navy SEALs have, that the combat veterans have that are calling this bullshit. His resume is sort of like office jobs before he started this ammunition company. And then he's getting into it with people like Chris Martinson, who actually ran tests, who actually deployed 38 different shots that he filmed, that he very carefully, scientifically documented as best as he could, shooting through boneless pork shoulders and bone-in pork shoulders. And Phoenix always coming back with more complexity, basically to the point of, well, if you don't shoot someone that's alive in the neck, then it's not really a genuine test. So just shut up about your test. We don't want to hear about your test because you're not shooting living people in the neck. Despite offering Valhalla VFT's footage of shooting through steel plates, shooting through beef femurs. We even had one guy that shot a ballistic plate to kind of drive the point home, so to speak. And now people are drawing lines on photos again, forgetting the fact that we are told that it hit his C2 behind his face, not that it hit his T1. And we're not going to get into all the specifics, but we're in this awkward position where to really remind you of how ridiculous this is, I would need to show the unedited, uncensored video of Charlie being shot again. And A, I don't want to do that without you having the option not to watch. And B, YouTube will mess me up if I do that. So I would invite you, if you are one of the people that still is on the fence about this, to go back and watch the uncensored videos of Charlie being shot in the neck. And then to watch all of the test videos of 30-06 bullets of all different grain weights and varieties, just obliterating gigantic pieces of meat, bone, living game, etc. And ask yourself if what you're seeing lines up with what was filmed on the day of Charlie's murder. Because I bring this up because specifically, if the gun ain't the gun, then the whole thing falls apart. If the gun ain't the gun, then the whole thing is a cover-up. And a whole bunch of people are incriminated. It would then be logical to assume that at least some of them are intentionally lying. I would imagine that a lot of them would be just swept up in the wave. But it's important not to get so far down the path of trying to figure out what did happen that we forget where we started, where everyone at the start pretty much agreed that this was fucking weird. And it was very similar to the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting of Donald Trump, where no one was buying the lone gunman narrative. Not the right, not the left, not fucking no one. The right was very quick to realize that that was some bullshit. But we're gonna play Nick's most recent amazing clip before we jump on a little detour here.
You really believe Kirk's neck absorbed a 30.06 bullet? Just a simple yes or no is fine.
First of all, fuck you. You're stupid. Stop watching my show tonight. Like, seriously, unsubscribe and don't watch anymore.
You hear that, guys? That's what Nick thinks of all of you.
Just a yes or no will do. First of all, nobody's saying that his neck absorbed the bullet. What you are saying is that there is a mysterious second shooter that shot him with another gun, and some interagency conspiracy planted the wrong gun. Is that what you believe?
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Sounds a lot like JFK, huh, Nick? You know, the JFK shooting where they actually planted the wrong gun on accident. They were much closer with JFK. It was the same type of rifle, but it turned out later, upon close investigation and noticing of details, that the gun that they planted, seen below here, had the strap attachments on the side of the rifle. So this upper strap, it wraps up behind the rifle and it's attached behind the rifle's barrel belly here. And on the bottom, it's attached on the side of the stock. You can see it more clearly in this photo here, where it attaches on the side of the stock and the side of the barrel. But the actual rifle that Lee Harvey Oswald owned, the strap attachments were on the bottom of the rifle. And it was also traced to the magazine where he purchased it from, being advertised as having the strap attachments on the bottom of the rifle. And they got that little detail wrong with the rifle that was planted at the scene. In this case, it was a little different because it apparently, I assume it was, actually Tyler Robinson's rifle, but it doesn't seem to match the caliber of the round that actually killed Charlie Kirk. You know, the JFK assassination also gives us precedent for amazing magical bullets that just seem to do bizarre, nearly impossible things just right when it's a political assassination. It's so interesting that bullets involved in political assassinations just seem to be the exception to the norm, that do bizarre, crazy things. And you're just supposed to believe that that is just, it's a miracle. It's just a miracle. That is what you are supposed to believe. And it's not the only time that very suspect shootings have wound up with very suspect gun narratives. I'll remind you of the Vegas shooting, in case you had forgotten, where there was a country music concert being held in this parking lot right here. And then, allegedly, a lone gunman busted out the window of his hotel room in the Mandalay Bay, kind of near to the top, all the way across the street. And then he opened fire with AR rifles equipped with bump stocks and killed an incredibly tragic number of people with some bullet trajectories that did not make any sense. But if you wanted any more clarity on it, you could go to vegasshootingmap.com, one of the crazy coolest resources on the internet, as far as I'm concerned, for deep state research. It's a live map with all the sources live posted, from 911 calls that you can actually listen to video with timestamps of the various gunshot sounds you can hear, all timestamped, all linked up, autopsy reports linked up, so you can actually re-research it in its original form for yourself, which is wild. And it's extremely useful if you want to understand it. I'm just going to show a little bit of the of things that I don't think YouTube will knock me for. Listen to the gunfire in this clip and try to convince yourself that you're listening to an AR with a bump stock. How big of a magazine do you think his AR has? Everyone that was on the scene that night, law enforcement people, military people, ex-special forces people,
they all said it sounded like a belt-fed machine gun. Most of them said that there were helicopters up, and subsequent investigations very well confirmed that there seemed to be helicopters up in the sky, and that it seems likely that the gunfire was coming from the helicopters, not from the Mandalay Bay. There is so much more evidence from the Vegas shooting that that was what happened. Guns start to be shown in that one, so I'm not going to show it. And one more. And again, no muzzle flash from the hotel. Although there are videos where you can see what appears to be muzzle flash floating through the sky. And then you can also listen to 911 calls from way down the Las Vegas Strip, blocks down the Strip, reporting gunmen running around with weapons out all the way down there. And the map makes it hard to conceive of how far away that is. We're talking gunmen being reported all the way at the end of the Strip. Despite the fact that allegedly it was a single lone gunman in his hotel room, and he never left the hotel room, and he ended it all for himself like an hour or more before the police even showed up at his door. He had a room full of ammunition still ready to go, and he just got bored and checked out. That's the narrative that is the accepted narrative about the Las Vegas shooting. So, actually, there's plenty of precedent for us to be lied to about the gun, about the bullet, about how these shootings happen, about what the hell is going on. And we haven't even mentioned how our current FBI, this FBI that's pushing this Fed narrative, Nick, and all the rest of you, that's the FBI covering up the Epstein files right now, actively trying to pretend that Epstein didn't traffic anyone to anyone. And yeah, maybe we should dive into the Las Vegas shooting again at some point here. Because I think we need a reminder of just how much precedent there is for major political shootings and assassinations and mass shootings, just apparently regular old mass shootings, to be extremely suspect. Okay? To add on to the flurry of new details coming out, Tucker Carlson went on Theo Vaughn this past week and had some very important details to add.
Bring our system beyond this year. Like, if you want the system to continue, you have to satisfy people that the system is real. And if they're convinced that it's not real, at some point they'll overthrow it. That's just going to happen. Okay. Oh, but Mamdani. Yeah. How do you think we got Mamdani? And you think Mamdani's radical? The dude went to Bowdoin. It could be a lot more radical than that. And we're going to get that.
They have a good sailing team there.
Do they?
Yeah.
At Bowdoin?
I thought it was Bowdoin, but it's not.
No, it's Bowdoin. Known really for sodomy, but also sailing. I didn't know
that,
yeah.
huh?
Enthusiastic. Actually, I think they've got one of the top-rated varsity sodomy teams in the country.
Hard to starboard.
Zen users. But anyway, here's what
There are so many funny little jokes in there. But I want to jump ahead to this piece right here.
That's what I am.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's a human person.
Well, that's what Candace is. So I have said from the beginning, if you don't like what Candace Owens is saying, why don't you call her and offer a more plausible explanation for what happened? Oh, she's bad. She's bad. Okay. I mean, I like her a lot. I don't think she's bad, but I love her actually. But let's just stipulate she's bad, but why wouldn't you do that?
Because I don't agree with some of the stuff that the rabbit hole she goes down, but I don't
even know.
But I like the fact that she likes to dig in the garden, you know? So it's like, I like the fact that she's curious.
That might be my new favorite quote. I don't know about all the rabbit holes she goes down, but I like the fact that she likes to dig in the garden. And yeah, Candace be digging in the garden. And sometimes she's pulling stuff out that doesn't make a ton of sense. But damn, do I like that more than Jack Posobiec. Trust the narrative. Roll up your sleeve. You fucking idiot. And this really interesting detail came out. And again, let's remind ourselves of Tucker Carlson's deep history with the establishment, with Fox News, with his dad's involvement in the CIA. Tucker grew up around CIA operatives, and his sources are very good. And when Tucker says something like this, it means a lot.
Very, very strange. I knew him while he was right at my house right before he was killed, so I feel emotional about it still.
Who was Charlie Kirk?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I love his wife and know his wife well details, but I know that recently Candace said that Egyptian registered aircraft were following Erika Kirk, Charlie's widow, around for a number of years in different places in the world. That's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard, and I just want to say that that is factually true. That's true. So that's like the one data point that I happen to know is true. What does that mean? I have literally no idea. I can't even guess, but that's very, very strange.
Yeah, that is very strange. And I'm just speculating here. But to me, what that means is that Tucker asked people within the CIA or NSA. That's what I would assume. And that someone within the system with the capability to check on the military view of those planes, which is far beyond our civilian capacity, and they confirmed to him that those planes are real, are on the radar, so to speak. So I don't know what that means, but it doesn't mean nothing. And it certainly means that I'm going to be spending all next week watching planes on radars and getting lost in the transponder data again. One of the last little updates here, Sam Parker also turned up another little inconsistency or lie in the narrative or testimony of Brian Harple, where Brian Harple,
and I feel bad for the hospital staff because we showed up looking like that, and they didn't know we were coming, even though we had called 911. But I don't know what happened to that. So
there are several issues with this narrative by Brian Harple. Number one, I filed a grammar request for all the 911 calls relating to the death of Charlie Kirk on September 10th and the shooting at Utah Valley University. Utah sent me the audio for 20 calls back. 18 of those calls went to Central Utah 911 Dispatch, which is the main node that handles 911 calls in Utah County, where Utah Valley University is located. 2 calls were routed to Police and Fire Dispatch, which is another node that also handles overflow 911 calls. None of these 20 calls came from Brian Harple or anybody on his security staff. That's problem number one. So he claims they called 911, but 911 doesn't have any record of his call.
So Sam Parker got the records for all the 911 calls in that area on that day. And none of them matched what Brian Harple described as the 911 call that they made, allegedly. But it would seem that they didn't make. So Sam Parker rightly then says that, well, either Utah has lost the call or is hiding the call, or Brian Harple is lying and the call was never made. And that's pretty weird. Why would you lie about that if that's what's happening? Or why would Utah hide the call or lose it? Sort of how they lost the footage of Tyler Robinson turning himself in. What might these calls or videos show? Or what don't they show? Why are we not even not allowed to see them? Why are they not in existence? It kind of makes me feel the same way as when we were asking, why are they paving over the crime scene 5 days after the shooting on a Sunday in Utah, when Sundays are nothing? Ain't no one working on a Sunday in Utah, except after there's a really important political assassination and it's really important to change out the sod.
The person's name.
And I already mentioned this. We don't need to go into this clip. So we're left at a funny point now where everything's changing and everything is ramping up and everything's getting really gnarly. The Fed slop is getting overwhelmingly loud, overwhelmingly emotional and vitriolic, and we still have all the same questions. In fact, now we have a few more, because now we have a few lies stacking up on a few lies, stacking up on a few lies. We have little bits of evidence seeping out here and there that seem to undermine the credibility of people that are claiming to be Charlie's best friends and claiming to represent Charlie's true ideology. And perhaps most concerning of all is we have Charlie's widow apparently departing strongly from what would have seemed to be Charlie's direction at the end. And I hesitate to even think about how dark this conspiracy gets if you bring Erika into the fold. And so I'm not going to speculate on that. I'm just going to look at what she says and what actually comes out. And I'm going to let you all think for yourselves about what all that might mean. Because I think the one thing we can all agree on is this opening and closing sentiment.
Because I learned during COVID. I learned when they told us that it came from a bat in the Himalayas. I learned when they told us the vaccine was safe and effective. I learned when they told us that ivermectin was horse paste, that you better keep asking questions because it's the only thing that keeps us free.
Thank you, Charlie. You better keep asking questions. And as this trial gets underway, it's scheduled to resume in January. I think we're going to have a lot of questions. And maybe we'll get a bunch of answers that will be sufficient. Maybe the autopsy will make it make sense. Maybe we'll finally see Mikey McCoy's phone logs. Maybe there will be some explanation for the Egyptian planes. I don't know. But I definitely am not going to trust the government just because they're the government. And I'm definitely not going to trust the Fed slop just because a bunch of influencers that are also Zionists scream at me really, really loud and call me mean names and make lots of little memes to try to make fun of me. And in all of this, the backdrop to all of this is that Israel has been ramping up its propaganda budget incrementally more and more and more every single month, it seems. They're up to almost $1 billion of public relations spending for next year. They recently multiplied their current propaganda budget times 20. And when you look at the landscape on X, the default discussion platform of our day, you can watch the vitriol increase, and you can watch the shillery increase, and you can watch the Fed slop getting pumped harder and harder and harder by all the people you'd expect, and by a lot of people that you might not expect. And so just be very thoughtful when you're in the information space right now, because the information space is the first frontline battlefield of modern warfare. And so I've been thinking about this thought a lot over the last few weeks about what is the actual role of a journalist today? Like, am I even really a journalist? Are any of us really, like, what is a journalist today? Is it a journalist's job to stay out of all of that mess and to just write little articles for mainstream news, or to just go out with a camera and hold the live camera for mainstream news or whatever it is? Or are journalists also the people that are in the fray of combat, for lack of a better term, in this public square that we call X right now? And I don't know how you want to define journalism, but one thing I do know is that today, groups like Israel and their ad spend, for lack of a better term, have made it impossible for journalists to be effective in the space without wading into the mud. Because if you're going to stay out of the mud and just write your little articles, you're never going to change the game. You're not going to make an effect because no one's going to hear you because everyone is screaming so loud, manipulating emotionally, telling lies willy-nilly, promoting propaganda without disclosing it, all sorts of stuff. And if you wade into it, you risk getting sucked down the rabbit hole into the emotional back and forths and into the name calling and all the rest of it, the character assassinations, etc. And so there's some balancing line between the two where modern journalists are forced to choose what type of platform they're going to build and what type of output they're going to make in order to balance making a big difference with being factually clean and pure. And the best journalists ride the line very well and manage to do both. But ultimately, that is a moving target that gets more and more elusive every day. So we do our best. I don't know as I consider myself a journalist. I'm certainly in the field, but you think what you want. Listen to who you want, and ultimately think for yourself and come up with your own conclusions and do your own research. Because, yeah, when we're digging in the garden, chat, when we're digging in the garden, inevitably we're going to get some dirt on us. And inevitably we're going to dig up some old bones that don't have anything to do with this case. But when the case is this important, personally, I feel like it's better to dig it all up than to just sit there and watch the Fed put new grass in over top of the crime scene. So, with that, we're going to close out the show. We're going to come back and do a couple of quick super chats before we head on off to catch Nate with what I think is going to be a very fun show over on Valhalla VFT. So stick around after this, and we will bring it back in for some super chats. But I want to close one more time with a quick reminder that if you love my work and if you want to support what I do, or you want to support family and founder-owned businesses, go and download the Buyer app on Google Play or on the App Store and start scanning things and start learning who actually owns everything in the grocery store and where your money is really going when you're buying things. You might be a little surprised. And if you're not surprised, then you're doing it right. Because I have to imagine that the people watching this program are probably the ones that are most aware of the whole corporate control system that's, quietly pulling strings all over our nation, all over our world. And with that, stick around for super chats, and then we'll see you next week.
Conspiracy theories are entering a information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.
Alrighty, fam. Let's see if my super chat viewer is working. Oh. It is super not working. Even though I thought that we fixed it last time. Even though I thought that we fixed it last time. Well, let me pull it up over here. I'm seeing it on my screen over here now where I was giant on half the screen. And let me pull in some of the homies, some of the big ones, some of the big dogs. And then I think what we'll do is we'll save a bunch of the supers and we'll do a whole follow-up show this weekend for chat, for Q&A, and for supers. But Valhalla VFT dropped in with a $100 donation. New goated intro. Let's go, boys. Yeah, Valhalla VFT for real. That is the goated intro without a doubt. Shout out to Matt Baker again for the awesome intro. I'm going to have to download that clip. I'm going to have to get his permission to use it because that was fun. I love it. Holly Vig with the 50. Look at the awning on Charlie Kirk's tent. The letter I in American comeback is in the shape of an electrical bolt. Interesting symbolism. What say you? It's my birthday. A comment would be the best present. Barron is fire. Barron is fire. I don't know what to make of the electrocution angle at this point. I am no electrical engineer, and I don't understand electrocutions. I didn't even know that microphones could electrocute people before this conversation came up. But personally, my understanding is you'd have to have 2 feet on the ground for the electricity to pass through you. So my little brain is not yet processing the concept, but I do love that people are digging into it. And the markings on Charlie's hands, though fuzzy, do seem to be something that's not blood. So I don't know what to make of it all, but I'm watching closely. Titanium 4K with the 50. I'm ex-Bear Stearns, repo trader 2008. Contact for verification. Epstein was the president of Liquid Funding. Yeah, dude, I've done reporting on Liquid Funding LLC. Holy shit. You can find the video on my channel. I am of the suspicion, like over 70% suspicion, that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in pulling the pin on the grenade that was the 2008 financial crisis. He was in position to do it. He was selling CDOs. He had worked at Bear Stearns, and then he was involved with JP Morgan, and his timing of dissolving his CDO factory little LLC shell company right before it all went belly up, sold all of his CDOs onto the market and then bounced and dissolved his company. Very suspicious. I saw another enormous one come in that we got to get to before we go. Where am I losing it at? Where? Huh. I saw a 200 come in during the show, but I'm not seeing it now. So I'm going to have to hunt it down somehow, and we'll bring it in for the next show. If you hit the $200 dono, apologies if I'm missing it, because it's not on my list here. But I do see the cross says yes with the big 50. Love your content. Have you ever heard of content creator Probably Alexandria? She does an excellent job over covering MK Ultra and programming, and how churches and religious institutions have been infiltrated by the CIA and FBI. I have heard of Probably Alexandria, and she's a really interesting content creator that has like a really like kind of low budget vibe, if I remember correctly, and is kind of esoteric. And I remember her stuff being pretty interesting back when I was made aware of it, but I don't follow along with her regularly. I only have so much time in the day to follow content creators. I'd be curious if she's been making any stuff around this story at all. And then lastly, I do want to give a shout out to our boy Zeb, who dropped a dono in the chat as well. Donation for your Phoenix Ammo Fund. Zeb Boykin is hilarious. I love him. He is one of our actual ballistics experts that has been weighing in from the start with a very high-level understanding of ballistics, not just of making ballistics ammo, but of actually how ballistics function in the air, in bodies, on impact, etc. And Zeb has very much laid out the case for why this doesn't make sense on multiple layers. And he's just a funny dude. So if you don't know about Zeb Boykin and Outside the Overton, definitely go give him a check. Go check him out and give him a follow. And I think what we're going to do now is I'm just going to hop into the chat for just a second, and we'll wrap this whole thing up here. Yeah, Zeb is based. All lies stem from Israel. Here is a thought about that chat message. All lies stem from Israel. 357 small block. Do you ever do the thought experiment in your mind of thinking, what would my social media experience be like if overnight, tomorrow you woke up and suddenly there was no Israeli money being spent on information warfare? Do you ever think about how much less vitriol and insanity and backwardsness and untruthfulness we would have on social media if Israel's propaganda were to stop overnight? Because I can't help but assume, based upon all that I know from research, from articles, from their own published statistics, their own words, their own postings, I can't help but feel like overnight, we would enter into the golden era of truth. And the vast majority of just backwards land ideas would suddenly no longer be posted on the internet. Because when you have an entire ideology, the most funded political ideology on the planet, I might add, when that ideology is based on needing to present lies as truth and evil as good and up as down, inherently the whole conversation is fucked. Because inherently you have this foreign funnel of money and it's also coming from inside the house, just profligating and promoting made up bullshit backwards land narratives. Whether it's about starving children in Gaza, or it's about terrorism in the Middle East, or it's about our own domestic policies in America, or it's about hate speech, or it's about freedom of speech, or it's about what you had for dinner, or it's about literally anything at all. Just over and over in every piece of our information space, it's being muddied, subverted by Israeli lies. And when you look at the Charlie Kirk conversation, I think that a lot of the people that are weighing in on the side that you would say is like the other side from me, on the Fed narrative side, a lot of them I think are genuine people that genuinely believe what they're saying. I don't think they're all paid by Israel. That's not my opinion. But the narratives that those mostly Zionists roll with, the base layer of those narratives are funded by Israel. The initial consensus is funded by Israel and is supported by Israel's military bot networks. And when there's a false consensus being pushed by a military apparatus, a lot of innocent people get swept up in the hype, just like happened during COVID, where you push a mass hysteria narrative and you get so many people to go along with it and to align on it that it looks like this is just what we're all doing. And human nature has this built-in mechanism of wanting to be in the tribe. And when it looks like the whole tribe is aligned, you don't want to be outside the tribe. So let this be my reminder to you. You're not alone. I think the majority of regular, real American people, and as well as people all around the world, are over the Israel shit. And when it comes to Charlie Kirk specifically, I think that the majority of regular Americans, and probably people around the world that have actually heard about the case, the majority of them are also not entirely buying this narrative. And that's coming from polls, that's coming from reporting, that's coming from general sentiment. That's coming from just living in the information space. There's lots of people that are totally with the Fed Slop narrative. But ultimately, I see people saying, can someone tag Ian? Can someone tag Ian? What, did Wildflower Gypsy just drop in hard in here? I saw someone mentioning $200 somewhere, and it's not in my... Oh, no, it's not in my list of supers. Maybe I can just chat scroll it. Boom. I picked it out. Wildflower Gypsy. There's the huge $200 dono. Awesome. I'm so grateful that you exist. Thanks for turning me on to Nate. Absolutely, Wildflower Gypsy. And Wildflower Gypsy, you've been along for the ride for quite some time. You've been a huge supporter, and I notice and I appreciate it. Thank you. I see it when you repost the stuff. I see it when you share it on Instagram and stuff like that. Really appreciate it. Thank you. It means a lot. I don't have the time always to acknowledge all different people and to acknowledge every single message, obviously, and everything. But I do see a lot of it, and I do appreciate it. It means a lot. So thank you. Thank you. Cool. So I grabbed that one. Appreciate it. So now, I'm going to save the rest of the supers for another show this weekend, and we'll get into them all. We'll have an open discussion. I hadn't been planning to do it that way, but with my super chatter broken and with Nate, I believe, going live right now, I think it just makes more sense because it's a lot more fun to read supers when you guys are on the screen, when I can have the supers up on the screen. And Nate is now live. So I'll show you real quick where we're going. We have the chats. We have the whole stream set up so that when our stream is done, we're just going to dump straight into Nate's stream and you're not going to be disappointed. Nate is the man. He is a Green Beret, so he is extremely experienced and an expert to talk about ballistics and about gunshot wounds and about all these things that Nick Fuentes has been weighing in on lately. And Nate's political takes are also really based and fair and wise. And so I could not sing Nate's praises enough. He's one of the coolest dudes on YouTube. And he's one of my favorite new finds and friends of 2025. So that's all I've got for you tonight. Remember to be a good person, be a whole person, be a real person, and take good care of yourself. Drink water, eat healthy food, tell people that you love them, get good sleep, and generally try to improve your own quality of life so that way you can improve your own community and then improve your city and then improve your whole country. Because America is a nation of Americans, right? And wherever you are out there in the world, you matter. And if you're not at your best, your people aren't going to be at their best. So thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, subscribing. Thanks for downloading Buyer and dropping a 5-star review for it. Thanks for all the support, the supers, the hype, the love. It means a lot. And with that, I will see you this weekend.
Conspiracy theories are entering a information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm